is up, you guys? Beautiful day out here on the Beeline Highway. I posted a video a little bit earlier. I rambled a lot. Hope you enjoyed it. But I pulled over, took a little breather, cleared my head because I'm in the mountains, and there's no better place to clear your head than here. And I thought, what the hell? I'll just continue on and maybe have a little story time just to prove that we as a human spirit are unbreakable. And if you're feeling broken, it just means that you're being built into a higher version of yourself, and you're being prepared for something that's so special and so amazing, a life that you deserve, a life that you want. It's all right there. And just these little shifts in our heads, little tiny tweaks, and we can make it happen. It's so easy. It's so easy. All you have to do is decide. These large, grand ideas that seem like something that was just written in a book, and seems like it's just a great idea, but the truth of it isn't real. I'm here to show you that that's not true. As somebody who's lived through it. As soon as I knew about them, they started helping, but they didn't get me through it immediately. It took some time, but now in hindsight, I can see that I never truly put my faith in those ideas. I doubted them, and that doubt is what kept the trauma alive. And now, in hindsight, I have no doubts. And so I share these things with you guys from a place of confidence that they work, and I hope that this channel reaches you. I think I'll just give a little bit better of a story that you guys will enjoy. This is a fun story, and you can enjoy the view while I talk about it. A drug dealer finds out I have this apartment. It was unfurnished. He's like, hey, I'll furnish your entire apartment, and I'll even pay your rent for you if you let me put a safe in your closet with all my drugs and money and guns. And better yet, I'll even give you some drugs to sell. And we're like, oh shit, this is like a miracle. We're just young kids we're sleeping on the floor and taking cold showers. So we say yes. The guy shows up with the delivery truck. He puts a green suede couch in the house, entertainment center with a TV, lamps everywhere. We got beds, a glass dining room table with leather chairs all around it. Like we were all of a sudden living the dream, and it was ecstasy. So then we're selling ecstasy to our friends at school, which I never felt guilty for because I was addicted to ecstasy, and so I was taking it. And so if my friend wanted it, I didn't see it at the time as like, I'm polluting these kids, I'm a bad influence on these kids. It was like, they love it as much as I do. And I'm just helping them get it easier without having to go to some back alley and deal with some crazy drug dealer and get some fake product. I was there in class and I could give it to them. So I'm slinging ecstasy. Well, this guy that was paying my rent and giving me these drugs to sell, he was, a 45-year-old gay black guy. And, well, I should just say a 45-year-old gay guy. I don't think his color matters. But he would hang around with us sometimes. And so one of my friends was this little skinny pipsqueak that wasn't really strong mentally, and he calls me crying one day, and he's like, hey, Rush, I don't know what happened. I was doing ecstasy with this dealer last night. I'll leave his name out of the video. And I woke up naked in his bed, and I think he took advantage of me. Some trigger inside of me exploded. And so I go to my dealer's house. So that's how we ended up in jail. And so it was a total screw up for sure. You have to wear these wristbands that are super abrasive and hard and uncomfortable. And if you shower and moisture gets under them, then your wrist is wet for a while and it can get itchy. So we learned that if we get the plastic back and forth. After a few weeks, it'll snap. It's when you're in jail, you got nothing but time, and it's not a quick job. You're bending this thing night and day, thousands of times before it finally gets weak enough to break. And then you can pull some strings out of your underwear that they give you, the elastic part, and you wrap the elastic string around it and tie it. And then what you have is like a bracelet that you can take on and off. You're not supposed to take them off. You get a big trouble for that. But if you're just taking it off to go to sleep at night or when you shower, just for the comfortable moments when the guards aren't paying attention, you don't get caught. And so we were still going to court, battling our charges, going to trial and stuff. And court was always a month out. You'd go and your next court date's 6 weeks later, your next court date's 6 weeks later, and on and on and on. And we were in jail for months. And so one day we go to court and we're there in the holding tank, and it's separated by bars. And so I'm in a holding tank, my brother's in a holding tank, and large tanks. There's like 20 of us in each tank, but they're just separated by bars. And so it's just a loud room. But they came in and they're like, "Rush, your court was postponed. You're going to be back here in 7 days. It's just a 1 week postponement. Get ready. We're going to come and get you and take you back to your cell." And so my brother was like, "Oh shit, hey, why don't we switch cells since it's just for 1 week?" Genius. And so me and him switch wristbands. They call out Zero Cool's name. I walked up as if that were me, and when they called Rush, he walked up. There's a cop up ahead. So we're going to cut through this town. I'll just keep yapping. So we quickly reach through the bars and we give each other our wristbands, and when they call our names, we go for the different thing. Now, we didn't look the same, which is the funniest part of this whole thing. It just shows how much they pay attention. Because once a week when the clippers came, I would shave. And so, I'm in high school, so it's not like I have a 5 o'clock shadow. I still had a baby face. I would kind of like shave the hairs that were there. They were there, but they were thin. But then I never touched my head, so I had like a big poofy head of hair and a clean face. I feel like maybe I look like one of the Beatles or something. So he was actually buzzing his head, but then he left his front goatee. He looked like Aryan Nation. We weren't banging Peckerwood or anything like that. We were just, it's county jail. And so, but we couldn't have looked any more different. But we switched cells. And, he goes to my cell, I go to his cell. It was fun. I got to know his cellie. It was cool. It was a good time. You don't realize how much you like your own space, though. Like, even a jail cell, I couldn't wait to get back to my cell. So we get away with it. Nobody knows. And then we're in class, because I was trying to get my GED in there, and one of the guys, I walk in, and he just starts laughing. He was actually the guy that had the tobacco and was hooking my brother up with cigarettes in the shower. So he wasn't some straight edge. He didn't, snitch on me on purpose. But he just starts laughing, and he's like, "Man, y'all some crazy motherfucker white boys just switching cells like that. That's crazy. Your brother was hella cool, but it's glad to have you back." Well, what we didn't know was that the teacher was just walking in, and he was out of sight, but close enough to hear us. And so he walks in and he looks at me, and he says, "I heard that." And no one said anything. I just sat down and continued my schoolwork. And then the next morning, they call my name out, and they say that the warden wants to see you. And so I go see the warden, and as I'm getting escorted to the warden's office, there's a bench in front of his office, like, sit here. And right as I sit down, my teacher comes walking out of the warden's office. I was like, oh no, I'm so screwed. And so I go in, and the warden asked me about it, and I'm like, no, I'm innocent, completely innocent. I have no idea what you're talking about. And he's like, well, I don't give a fuck. He's like, this isn't a court of law. I don't need a reasonable doubt. I don't need anything. He's like, the reason why you're here in this place to begin with is because you've gotten away with too much shit in your life. He's like, nobody goes from a perfect kid who doesn't break laws to armed robbery. He's like, so I know that you've been getting away with too much shit your whole life, and you're not getting away with this. So he gave me 10 days in the hole and sent me on my way. The hole is a long story I want to share with you guys. It's mental torment, it's suffering, it's the silence makes your thoughts so loud. I suffered. I thought that I might commit suicide. I thought that I might lose my mind and I wouldn't be the same. Just the first day felt like a month, and then I was like, oh my god, 9 more days, I'm never gonna make it. And I made it. I'm here right now. And the reason I want to talk about that in a separate video is because it's a really great story of survival, of how I got through it, and I think you guys are gonna really love it. So anyway, they finally get me out of the hole, and they're moving me up to TSEP, stands for total separation. And TSEP is where they put you when you're in your cell alone, no cellmate, 72-hour lockdown. Every 3 days they let you out for 20 minutes to shower or make a phone call. You could do both, but you don't have time. Even when you get your shower, it's like you're drying off in your cell. You don't have enough time to shower and dry off and get dressed. You're like, the 20-minute day break every 3 days is such a joke. So basically, you're just in your cell by yourself. And what you do is you get these, you get let me pass this guy. We would get chessboards, and we would number the squares 1 through 40 or however many squares are on a chessboard, just from the first row, just like you're reading a book. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way through. Number the chessboard, and then you could find somebody in the pod to play chess with, and you would just yell out of the crack of your door, 1 to 12, and then he would go to his board and he would take the piece that was on 1 and he'd move it to block number 12. And then an hour or 2 later, he'd yell some numbers out of his door, and I'd go and I'd move my chess pieces on those numbers. And so we did that, and then 80% of these guys were on death row, fighting death row cases, where they were on murder charges but still going to trial. That's why they were in county jail. Or they were working on appeals, and so they would have already been in prison and been on death row in prison, but they'd be coming to court to work on their appeals, and they'd be housed up in TSEP for the duration of the appeal. And then there were some child molesters and weirdos in there too. There was one guy who had long hair down to his ass that identified as Jesus, and on his 20-minute break every 3 days, he would go stand at the skylight that was painted over white. You couldn't see out of it, but light shined in it, because we were on the top floor of the jail. And he would stand under the skylight looking up at it and talking to himself, pretending like he was Jesus, offering blessings out or something. Dude was crazy. But and so that's where country comes into play. Country one day just walks over to my cell and starts talking to me. And I'm a young kid, 17 years old, angry, confused. I'm yelling at night rap songs. I'm singing Tupac lyrics and Biggie lyrics and making my own raps up out of the crack to entertain people. And I'm just being I'm making beats on the door, just creating noise, getting in trouble all the time. And so he just starts talking to me about surviving. And understanding myself, and very fatherly. He calmed me down and taught me how to find my presence and my peace and breathe through my pain. And he would talk about experiences he had when he was young, and only 20 minutes at a time, so it was like highlight reels. The little bit of time he had, he would give me some highlight reel. It would help me, and I would read the Bible, and we would have Bible study together and talk about things in the Bible that related to what we were going through. And he played a really big part in my emotional development. I never had a father figure, so I was unclear on what a man was, and I thought a man was somebody that punched people. I thought a man was aggressive and full of testosterone, and I thought a man caused trouble and held his own and made his presence known and commanded respect. All the things that you think a man is when you don't have a man in your life. And really, that's a boy. That's a punk. A man is the exact opposite of that. A man understands himself, is stable in his emotions, can keep calm in the storm, can calm others, can lead. And I learned a lot of these traits of a man from country. He literally raised me like a son in there. And you don't ask people what their crime is or what they did. You can get hurt asking questions like that, and it's not polite. It's considered rude. It's considered disrespect. So you don't ask. And all I knew was his name was Country. And so I think I spent my last couple months in TCEP playing chess with different people and mentoring under Country, learning about emotions and healthy masculinity. And he was very soft-spoken, like he was from Fort Worth or something. He had this Texas twang, and he was just cool as a cucumber. And so I'm getting released, and he comes over with a sheet of paper that's got his name and his inmate number on it, because in order to write somebody, you have to know their name and their inmate number. And he's like, hey, keep in touch when you get out. You don't got to write me long letters, but I'd love to know how you're doing when you get back out into the real world. Because, getting out was almost worse than being in, because I was getting out to no place to live, no money, no family. When I walked out of the county jail, I walked out of those double doors, and I was standing on the sidewalk, and that was it. At that point, it's like, do I go left or right? And very, very hard and confusing and difficult time in my life at that point. And that's another story. But I'll fast forward to getting on a computer and looking up Country to see who he was, because I had always been curious, but I didn't want to ask him and disrespect him. So I Googled this guy. I'm not going to give you guys his real name, just out of respect for him, because I really do. I still hold love in my heart for him. But he flipped one day, and he went home. He was married with 2 kids, and his mother-in-law lived in the house with him. She was old and was in like a guest room. And so one day he just comes home, and the newspaper articles didn't say why or what happened or give any explanation, but he came home with like a hatchet or an axe, and he kills his entire family. He chops them all up with an axe. So he kills his wife, he kills his 2 kids, and he kills his mother-in-law just violently with an axe, like the kind of thing that you would see on some Netflix documentary. Total insane moment. And just sat there until the cops came and arrested him. And he was that calm, collected, beautiful soul that I knew. That's who he was before all this, and it's who he was after all this. It was just that one moment where he flipped out that changed everything. And within a year of me knowing him, he was given a lethal injection. So I actually never got to ride him. We never stayed in touch. And that was the end of country. I feel like some Manchurian Candidate thing, like he had some kind of computer chip in his brain that they turned on or something. It really doesn't make sense. And it's like the guy that I know would never do that. But how much do you really know anybody? So that's the story of country. That's how I met him. That's how I ended up in TSAP. Some of the same life advice that he gave me is a lot of the stuff that I've been sharing with you guys. Not everything, I mean. But he did help me in a lot of ways. So that's just a story. I thought I'd change it up. Maybe you guys are sick of life lessons and stuff. Maybe not, I don't know. But if you're still listening after all that, much love and respect to you. Get out there and be good. Do good things. Help people when you can. And if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.